أوكي، مساء الخير، يعطيكم العافية، بنرحب فيكم جميعًا، نتشكركم لوقتكم ووجودكم معنا. معكم سارة أبو محفوظ من الوتين، وأيضًا معنا سباستيان من Open-E. عنوان الpresentation اليوم رح يكون عن recovering from ransomware with Open-E solution. هلأ مدة الpresentation رح تكون تقريبًا ساعة. حسب الأجندة اللي قدامكم، بدايةً رح نحكي فيها brief عن الوتين وعن Open-E، بعدين رح نحكي عن الmain features للOpen-E storage، بعد هيك عنا 10 دقايق نشوف فيها demo، نشوف فيها مثال كيف نسترجع الداتا في حال الransomware attack، وآخر شي عنا 20 دقيقة نجاوب فيها أسئلتكم. طبعًا أي حدا عنده أي سؤال يا ريت يكتبه على الchat وبنجاوبه في نهاية الpresentation. بدايةً نحكي عن الوتين. طبعًا الوتين هي system integrator company تأسست في عام 2008. أسواق عملنا هي في الأردن والسعودية والعراق وليبيا. مجالات شغلنا بتتضمن ICT solutions، الdata protection and cyber security. نحكي عن الICT solutions. هلأ هي الحلول اللي بتشمل جميع مراحل بناء مراكز المعلومات، منها إعداد هاي المراكز من حيث أنظمة الطاقة والطاقة البديلة، تجهيزات الأرضيات والسقوف المعلقة أو المرتفعة، وتجهيزات الخزائن والأنظمة المساندة مثل التكييف، السيطرة على الحرائق وإدارة البيئة. وأيضًا بنجهّز متطلبات البنية التحتية من الخوادم والبيئة الافتراضية أو البنية المدمجة اللي هي الHyperconverged، واللي بتوفر دمج مصادر الذاكرة والمعالج وأقراص التخزين لمجموعة الخوادم في بيئة واحدة متكاملة ومتوافرة، تدعم سهولة التوسع والتعافي من الكوارث عن طريق إضافة أو استبدال الخوادم في المجموعة. وأيضًا بنقدم تجهيزات التطبيقات الافتراضية اللي هي Virtual Application and Desktop Infrastructure أو الVDI، سواء كانت للمختبرات التعليمية أو الشركات. وعن طريق هاي التطبيقات بيكون في توفير في التكلفة وسهولة في الإدارة والدعم الفني. أيضًا الشركة بتقدم حلول ووسائط التخزين مثل سواء لقواعد بيانات أو تطبيقات أو الميديا في تطبيقات مثل الCCTV أو الكاميرات المراقبة، وتوفير النسخ الاحتياطية وإمكانية التعافي من الكوارث. واليوم رح نحكي عن الOpen-E Software Defined Storage which support the storage backup and disaster recovery and ransomware mitigation in one platform. هلأ ننتقل للداتا بروتكشن. في مجال الداتا بروتكشن هون بنحكي عن التكنولوجيا اللي بتساعدنا نحمي كل أنواع المعلومات على كل أنواع الأجهزة بالمواقع اللي بنشتغل فيها، سواء كانت أجهزة مستخدمين من موبايلز، PCs، لابتوبس، أو أجهزة الخوادم. ولما نحكي هون عن حماية البيانات، هون بنقصد إنه حماية البيانات مهمة من أي تلف أو التغيير أو الخسارة، وبنوفر قدرة إن نستعيد هاي البيانات ونستخدمها في حال حدوث أي إشي بخلي هاي البيانات غير قابلة للوصول أو غير قابلة للاستخدام. طبعاً تتضمن حماية البيانات أولاً عدم تلف البيانات وإمكانية الوصول إليها للأغراض المصرح بها فقط، وأيضاً تكون متوافقة مع المتطلبات القانونية أو التنظيمية المعمول بها. هلأ من الحلول اللي إحنا بنوفرها لحماية البيانات، أولاً أنظمة إدارة الملفات والصلاحيات، والوصول بنوصل لإلها يعني من خلال لوحة تحكم واحدة One Dashboard تتحكم بجميع وسائط تزويد الملفات لدى الشركة اللي هي نحكيها Shared Folders. وأيضاً في من الحلول كمان تقنيات توفير النسخ البديلة وتقنيات استرجاع المعلومات والعمل في حال حدوث أي طارئ أو في حال حدوث الكوارث الطبيعية اللي نحكي لها Disaster Recovery Solutions. هلا واحدة من أهم النقاط اللي ممكن نحكيها هون هي فيروسات الفدية اللي هي Ransomware، اللي غالباً بكون فيها استحالة باسترجاع الداتا إلا إذا كنا ماخدين وسائل الوقاية اللازمة. نتميز إحنا كالوتين إنه بنضيف خط دفاع جديد نسترجع فيها الداتا في حال الرانسوموير أتاك. بنجهز وسائل التخزين نفسها بحيث تعطي الحماية والأدوات اللازمة للتعافي في حال حدوث هجوم رانسوموير، بغض النظر شو كان عندنا نوع الابليكيشن أو المعلومات أو نظام التشغيل. وهذا الموضوع رح نحكي بالديمو. هلا نحكي في مجال السايبر سيكوريتي أو الأمن السيبراني. هلا الأمن السيبراني إنه نطبق التقنيات والضوابط نحمي فيها الأنظمة، الشبكات، البرامج، الأجهزة والبيانات من أي هجمات إلكترونية. وهذا بمكننا من الحفاظ على سرية وأمن المعلومات الموجودة على أجهزة الإند يوزرز والسيرفرز، والحماية من البرمجيات الخبيثة. الوتين بتقدم عدة حلول في هذا المجال. أولاً حماية الأجهزة الطرفية والخوادم من البرمجيات الخبيثة، حماية الموظفين من المواقع الخبيثة وإدارة استخدام الإنترنت، وتشفير تناقل المعلومات بين الأجهزة والخوادم، وأيضاً إدارة سجلات الأحداث اللي هي برمجيات كفيلة أن تربط الأحداث على مختلف الأطراف النتورك لحتى نعرف مكان ووقت دخول هذا المالوير من عند أي مستخدم، شو الطريقة اللي فات فيها، شو البرامج اللي شغلها، ونقدر نتابع الأحداث من وقت دخوله، وبالتالي نتفادى هاي الأخطاء مستقبلاً. هاي كانت مقدمة سريعة عن الوتين. شكراً لوقتكم. إذا في أي استفسار إحنا بخدمتكم. هلأ بدنا ننتقل لسباستيان. I would like to introduce Mr. Sebastian from Open-E. Hi, Sebastian. He will present Open-E solution. He is a better presenter than I am. Yes, Sebastian, you can start.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much, Sarah, for the introduction. My name is Sebastian. I'm a business development representative at company Open-E, working since 5 years already here. And I would like to guide you and say about our product and, of course, introduce you to the company and what kind of solutions we're offering. So Open-E is almost 25 years on the market. We are founded in 1998. And as you can see, we are working international. We have branch offices in the United States. There's also our headquarters. Then we have an office here in Germany as well. In Poland, there's all the engineering and development team. And then we have a small office in Japan as well. We work with all industrial leaders such as VMware, Intel, and all the hardware manufacturers. And as well, we have a lot of customers. We have top 500 customers all around the world. And we have a lot of partners which design and create such solutions as Wateen just presented. And we are today focusing on our main product, which is JovianDSS. And I'm going to tell you some about the features. So with JovianDSS, we can is this based on CFS file system, and which allows us to create really good storage solutions based for large, medium, and small enterprise capacities. And it's designed for every business. It's like for data centers, it's for public, private cloud providers, MSPs, like CCTV, recording, whatever solution you would like to build. It is very possible with Jovian, of course. And the CFS operating file system offers a lot of features coming with built in with it. One of them is called on and offset data protection. This is also where the ransomware protection is beginning. This will be deeply explained during the webinar. But of course, we can also build high availability solutions or like big data solutions for CCTV, surveillance recording, or anything you would like to record in general. So going to the next step, it is the concept, what we can do. It is like the storage, what we can create out of it. So the storage capacity is nearly unlimited. We have installations out in the field with like 2 or 4 petabyte, even 6 petabyte are out. When you work like with JBots with 19 disks per JBot, this is easily possible and also scalable. The maximum volume size is also unlimited. You can store as many data on the volume as you like. And this works with pools instead of volumes. It is just a CFS way how to build this. As high availability options, we have the HA cluster architecture. It is like it shares the physical drives between the nodes. And this can be done with the non-shared storage cluster. This is the called Metro cluster. It shares by basically the same technology. We will replicate the data over Ethernet, and everything is redundant. And we can also do this with like solutions as a shared storage cluster. This is like a dual controller node storage. and we can also build other clusters, and we have, of course, no downtime during this whole situation. So all the data can be accessed all the time, and if there's any interruption, whatever it is going on, like with physical hardware, the operation will always proceed and go further. So when we take a look at the file system closer and the storage virtualization, we can see some key features. So as already said, we can scale up and the storage as we like. We can like start with a smaller solution and then scale up as long as we want, and can like the volume as said, unlimited size. The protocols we are supporting is iSCSI, NFS, SMB, CIFS, and of course Fiber Channel. Our solution is certified by VMware for all protocols. And this is also working as a hyperconverged solution if you like to. We have VLAN support if you need it. And also we have multipathing for iSCSI just to enhance the performance if needed, just to attach like 2 cables on the disk. Other features are deduplication. So you can make data like you can delete duplicates on the fly. It will be automatically handled by the software, which is pretty good, but it requires a lot of RAM. So the usage needs to be discussed in the use case especially. But what we really have is a really good compression ratio. It makes the data which are stored on the storage itself smaller as it compress it by default automatically with called LZFear. And this is a really good mix out of performance and compression rate. And I have seen like good compression rates up to 1.75. In some cases, even it doubled the data. So it is really good to use, and it is without any performance loss. Most important, that's why we're here and talking, is the corruption. It is like the CFS has such called meta checksums for every block which is written on the disk. That means like for every data which is actually written on the storage, you get like a little checksum, and this will be always checked if this data is consistent. And that's why we have also included the self-healing. The data will be always automatically checked if there's any bad blocks, and they will be replaced with good blocks, and then it can like self-heal, and the storage is always safe. So one of the main features with CZFS is the data is always consistent. So we have always consistent data, and you may know, like at your home, you're using your notebook, you have like you boot it up and you have the notebook is starting, and then you need to make a disk repair. This will never happen with this file system. It's impossible. Yeah, and the most important feature, that's why we are talking here, is the on and offsite data protection, in short OODP. That's why we can create full volume backup to another storage or even to multiple storage. And then we are also safe because we have ransomware protection included, as CFS by itself is write protected. So the attacker or the virus, whatever malware is coming in, it cannot write or access the snapshots because they are protected in a safe level. And yeah, they're kind of safe. So backup and restore, that's what we're doing. We have a storage software, but we are also having backup and disaster recovery. And this is important to know. It's not just one storage product, it is a 3-in-1 included solution. So we have snapshots, and at the same time, we have on and offset data protections, and we are safe. We can disaster recovery all the time. So we have asynchronous replication to remote locations. That means like a server is standing in your office and you have a data center and there's another server, and you can make like a snapshot like every 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And then you have the data on a second place, and it is always safe. The same is like for secure archiving. As it said, the snapshots, they're write protected. These snapshots cannot be touched, and we can run them even to multiple locations at the same time. So we could even replicate our data from our office to 5 offices around the world. It is also working over internet, and it is pretty good. And we have, of course, instant access to the previous versions. Like we always check what is the latest version. But this I will explain in the next few steps about this technology, what we have in here. So it is on and offset data protection called. Like we can also, maybe if you know the CFS file system, it is called ZFS send receive. This is the functionality behind it. And we were able to create this feature within our GUI, and this makes the product so good. So When we look at the next slide, I will explain what this on and offset data protection really does. As said, we have a production server, let's say it is in our office, and then we have a backup server anywhere where you want it, like maybe in your office, in the basement, or somewhere else in the data center. And what you can do is you can like send from this production server. It can be either a high availability cluster or a single node itself. You can send the snapshot like every 5 minutes. And only the data which is like which was like going on through the workload will be transmitted. So it always only sends the delta data. And this is not a much, like if you can consider like what can happen in 5 minutes on data grow, not that much. And the snapshot will be just stored to the backup server. And then you have like just the delta data replicated. This is like a round the clock backup all the time. So this brings the really positive effect. We do not have to make a backup like after the work days or during lunch. We can always make the backup like right when we want it. Like we have it like 10 minutes set interval, and then we have like the backup every 10 minutes, or let's say every 15 minutes as we want it. We can even set it up to 1 minute if it's required, let's say in high security or banking industries where it's really required, where you work like with data banks or something else. So this is, and the best thing is of course this is always consistent. This is like works as a VSS snapshot. And of course, it's also working with VMware. Yeah, and what we can do is we can like have this 1 hour. Let's say we keep it like for 1 hour and 1 day and 7 days. So we can granularly define how can we like let's say archive this solution. Like we can say we make a big backup server, and then we can define, oh, I want to keep just one snapshot which just happened like every hour, like 1 day, 7 days. And we have customers, they're storing it like for 30 years, like some doctor offices, and they have to do it this way, and it works just perfect. The best thing is like you're always protected from ransomware. Whenever it should occur or it should happen, you can always restore it. And I will just show this on the next slide. It is looking like a Windows familiar. So this is an example or SMB. We can just right-click, go to a Windows and open the folder, and we just select the latest version, and then we can select whatever version what was selected or affected, the last one which we maybe accidentally deleted. Maybe we deleted a file what we needed like 5 minutes ago, so we can just go backwards, make like a small time journey, and let's say come back to this 5 minutes, and we can just restore it, copy the data from it, and then it works. So the same of course will apply to ransomware. When your whole data or your whole server gets encrypted, you can just make a rollback, and then but we will see this also later on the demo on. And then you can just have your fully restored data whenever the attack was happening, and then you're safe and can continue work. So it's business continue at its best, and it's a really good solution. So as we said, we can make this on single node. We can do this also on high availability. That's what our solution is also famous for. We have a true high availability cluster. This can start with the shared storage cluster. We have this model like a dual controller node. It's consistent of 2 servers, node A, node B, and then we connect it through SAS to the JBot, and then we can just have our disks inside the JBot, and then we can just access the data through the access. And if one node fails, we can always have the other node, and it will take a failover, and our data is safe. Of course, we can run also active scenarios where it just means like we create 2 data pools, and we have 1 data pool active at one node A and 1 pool active at node B at the same time, and the failover will happen just vice versa. And we can utilize more performance out of the 2 servers, out of the hardware in general. It utilizes all the RAM, the CPU, package power, and this will be a great performance boost here in this case. Yeah, as said, this is the classical solution. If you need like more redundancy and you want like more safety in general, you can also make the shared storage cluster like with 2 JBots. That means we have just like more disks, of course, but of course like a higher failover scenario. It means like in this case, like node A can fail, and one of these JBots can fail, and the data flow will be uninterrupted. You can always continue working. All the virtual machines are running, so there's nothing happen. There's just a failover, some seconds happening, and then you're safe, and then you can just continue your production from another server. Yeah, the next is our Metro cluster. It is called a non-shared storage cluster. This is what Open-E is famous for. We have the technology to make these disks, like these two servers, node A and node B, with disks inside. You can also use SATA disks and or additional JBODs, but then you have to have SAS disks later on. We can replicate the full node A to node B within a distance of 50 kilometers or 60 miles, even to 2 data centers. And it is a full synchronous mirroring path here between these nodes. So all the time the data is consistent and it is written. And this is the best solution we mostly offer, or most of the time is requested. Also, with in combination with all flash, this solution is just the best what we have. So you can make a high availability cluster from out of your office to, let's say, a data center which is 20 kilometers far away, and you have always a synchronous data stored, and it is just yeah, the best what you can get. The next thing is we can have these hyperconverged environments as well. It is called running under VMware or running under any hypervisor as you like. We support any hypervisor, like from Red Hat Linux to Proxmox to VMware, Citrix, KVM solution, everything is supported. So you just run a JovianDSS as a virtual machine, and this is in this way you can save, of course, some hardware. Like you just normally you have a classic storage with 2 servers and 2 hypervisors, so it's like 4 servers in total. You just use 2, make them as a high availability cluster, and then you can run this even in the hyperconverged scenario. That means like you can make your hyperconverged solution running all your databases at the same time and having them on the storage at the same time. And if something should happen, you can always have this a failover. So everything is virtualized. This brings, of course, some advantages. You save a lot on the hardware and also on the electricity cost, which is more important nowadays. And as well, you can save on resources in general. You don't need that much hardware part. And yeah, it's just better economically, the solution. Of course, there are some disadvantages as well. You can have only limited performance because you need to address to VMware like let's say 8 cores or that and that amount of RAM, and it just works a little bit slower because there's just an additional layer behind. And of course the single point of failure is a lot higher if you don't have these two separated, the storage into hypervisor or the compute units, as if these 2 servers fail, all your storage, all your virtualization is basically lost. But it is really modern in these days because like people have to save money. And if you want like a small solution or just a startup solution where we have everything included, hyperconverged is really the way to go. So, talking about ransomware, it is like a growing threat. I just read a newspaper article today in the morning, and I've seen like the schools here in the near are affected. They are encrypted the data, and this was a really not nice situation for all the schools because they cannot pay this. And what can we do about here? So overall, ransomware is the ransomware attacks number is increasing. Like a lot of people are criminal and cyber criminals, and they're trying to find some ways to get some money out of it, and they're using, of course, the weak points in the infrastructure. As we know, we had a home office recently with all this corona pandemic, and a lot of people had to use VPN or just connected somehow to the company network, and there were a lot of weaknesses. And we want to make sure we can address these issues, and that's why we're using Jovian, and we just want to showcase how you can prevent such an attack from your company and why it makes sense. The ransomware trends is also called double extortion. That means also the attackers, they will not encrypt your data fully. I mean, they also will claim that their data, that this can be released in the public, and they will even higher the price what you need to pay. And therefore, this is a really bad situation for every company. It is happening in every business, and when we showcase the next slide, then we will check it out. The ransomware payments per quarter, they highly increased because it's way more attacks happening. So of course, like a lot of more companies affected from all these ransomware attacks. And this is why, of course, they have to pay more in the end. the effects of ransomware is really bad because, as already said, during the corona pandemic, the ransomware cybercrime attacks, they have increased as they found like some weak spots. Also, insurance companies, CNN Financial, they had like ransomware payments, which is ridiculous with 40 millions. And also the expert estimate says that ransomware like happens every 11 seconds. And this is like kind of crazy. If you consider these numbers, like your company has to be attacked at just a certain point, and you need to make sure we have delete them, yeah. So if we look at the statistics of ransomware effects and the average cost of a ransomware downtime per incident, this costs a lot of money. So it was increasing since 2018 from 46,000 up to in 2021 to $380,000, which is ridiculous in my opinion, because I mean, like, this is all damage which was done to the business itself, and like a lot of hospitals, they're suffering, they cannot get their data back, and they have like a really hard times and having these downtimes. If you take a look at the statistics, what kind of organization reported ransomware attacks and the countries. So we got these countries, of course, is the South Arabic and Turkey as well on the top. And yeah, when we can see this, China is also, Spain, South Africa, Mexico, Italy, every like country in the world is affected. Of course, Germany as well. And if you take a look at the companies, this is the most important part, like the government organizations, like they are attacked most of the time because they are not having the budget to fulfill the security needs, and maybe also to fulfill all the policies they have, because they have not that much money and they need like cheap solutions. And this is what we're offering, of course. Like, we also have attacks in manufacturing, construction, like every branch is basically affected in the business. Even the healthcare is affected. So this is really bad for all the hospitals, education even. I mean, they have not that much money, education, to pay at the end, but still it is a disaster. Yeah, if you like take a look at the current trends, what we have in Jordan, this is a survey was doing by Trend Micro, and we see the ransomware attacks in 2018. We had over 2.7 minute attacks, and in 2021 we had already over 3.3 minute attacks via email alone. So we can see this number is also increasing, and this is up to 40% more ransomware attacks. And yeah, that's why we're doing this webinar, to make you have a choice to make a solution, and of course using Jovian to prevent any ransomware attack. Yeah, if you cannot take a look at the demonstration, this will be the most interesting part, just how this ransomware is affected and how we can restore it with Jovian. So in this case, I will just play the video and we can take a deeper look inside.
Help your company. So how can Open-E JovianDSS help your company avoid losing data and money due to ransomware attacks? Given the ever-increasing amounts of ransomware attacks these days, that's a pretty popular question. Well, here's an example. Right now our system is normal. We have all our files and the data is accessible. Then, all of a sudden we're hit with a ransomware attack, and the data is no longer accessible. Now we might have to pay a huge fee just to get our data back. So how can we avoid this? Well, with Open-E JovianDSS, we can just go to the snapshot section, find the snapshot that was taken right before the attack happened, and do a rollback. The reason why this works is because snapshots are read-only files, so they don't get encrypted. As you can see, the rollback process is very simple. After the rollback process is finished, we just put in our password like normal. There's no complicated technical issues or problems, and anyone can do this. This simplicity is one of the reasons Open-E JovianDSS is so amazing. After we're done putting in our password, we'll find that the system has returned back to normal. all our files are once again accessible and no data has been damaged or lost. Now we don't have to worry about any ransom demands, and we can continue running our business as though the ransomware attack never happened.
Yeah, as we can see, the ransomware just happened and we can just make a rollback. So this is the way we can prevent this damage or mitigate some damage, and of course in combination with high availability or single node solutions. And this is of course the best way to even make more locations, offsite locations, not just one, even like 2 or 3. This is also some insurance companies also say we have to make a backup, but in different places. And this is where our solution, I think, is the most best or suitable case to use it. So this is, I think, we are going over the presentation. Are there any questions? So I will take a look at the chart. So we can already have a question. Can we apply different retention policies for Snapshot on each site? Yes, this is doable. We can make a retention plan and we can also make different retention plan. So on every site, you can make your own retention plan. You can like send from one server to like, let's say 3 or 4 or even 5 servers at the same time. And these 5 servers can be like, there can be a retention plan set. Maybe we'll store the data just like, let's say 1 hour weekly and then 2 days and so on. So you can set for each of these different 5 servers, you can set each individual retention plan. This is possible, yes. And I'm already seeing a next question. What is the maximum storage supported by the solution? So as said, we have tested it, I think, with 500 disks, each 20 terabyte and even more. So we have customers on field with around 4, 6, even 8 petabyte solutions outside. So this is, I would say, consider the range we are talking here about. Of course, you could scale it maximum, but it always depends on how you're using your rack space and so on. So with a lot of JBots, it's also a lot of rack space which you need to consider. And maybe you just make another server for it and scale it also up to 8 petabyte or even 6 petabyte in these regions. So we have another question. Can you explain what is the relation between ransomware and COVID-19? Why ransomware increased in COVID-19? Yes, in COVID-19, we had at least here in Europe, we had a lot of home office work and all the security, which is normally handled by the administrator, which is in the companies, they don't have like, let's say, the staff which is required to make a safe network, and that's why like all these attackers could like getting access to these companies, because the employee was the risk itself. They had to bring like the notebooks from the company and they gave them remote books to work at home. And this is why they had to make, like in the best case, like a VPN connection, but maybe there was not a secured connection to the company network. And this is why a lot of course, attackers could easily access it, and they could just like attack and get in this network quite easily. Yeah. So do we have any other questions or?
في أي حدا بحب يسأل أي سؤال يبعته على الشات بوكس. It seems there is no other questions. We will wait for 2 minutes. Okay, it seems all things are clear. So thank you سباستيان. نتشكركم جميعا لحضوركم ولوقتكم. نتمنى انكم تكونوا استفدتوا وتكون الامور واضحه، واي استفسار احنا جاهزين كواتين سواء على التليفون او على الايميل. نشوفكم كمان مره وان شاء الله بنشوفكم بايفنتات تانية. Thank you Sebastian. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much for having me here, and also have a good afternoon.